The majority of people spend their time talking about what they want, complaining about what they don't have, or waiting for the perfect time to act. But the 1%, the ones who rise above, don't talk much. They move in silence and act with focused discipline. Doing what the 99% are not doing begins with mastering the art of restraint. It's about waking up early not to impress, but to improve. It's about working while others are distracted, learning while others are entertained, and persisting when others quit. It's about doing the deep, difficult, and often unseen work that no one else is willing to do, day in and day out, without seeking attention, approval, or applause. Most people avoid discomfort, but the few embrace it knowing growth is hidden inside challenge. They don't scroll endlessly, argue aimlessly, or compare constantly. They disconnect from distractions and plug into their mission. They aren't loud, but their results are. This level of discipline demands sacrifice of time, ego, and sometimes relationships, but it leads to a life few ever experience. Choosing silence over noise and effort over excuses sets them apart. Not because they're lucky, but because they do what the rest won't. Most people speak about their goals more than they work toward them. They seek validation before results, praise before progress, and comfort over growth. The few who separate themselves from the crowd do so by choosing silence and consistent, focused action. These individuals understand that real transformation happens in quiet, hidden moments. The early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifices no one sees. They don't announce every move, they let their progress speak. While others get distracted by trends, opinions, and temporary pleasures, they remain anchored in their purpose. They train their minds to resist distractions, delay gratification, and endure discomfort. They build their life like a fortress, brick by brick, habit by habit, while the world sleeps or scrolls. Their discipline isn't occasional, it's embedded in their identity. They're not trying to prove anything to others, they're proving it to themselves. The world may not notice them at first, but eventually their results will be too loud to ignore. That's what sets them apart. That's what the 99% won't do. The 99% want fast results. They chase shortcuts, get rich quick schemes, or quick fixes because patience is uncomfortable and progress feels slow. But the 1% understand that anything truly worthwhile takes time, and so they commit to the long game. They don't get discouraged by the lack of immediate results, because they see each step as an investment in their future. They know that consistency compounds, and with every small disciplined action, they're building something greater than what can be seen in the moment. While others get bored and quit, they find energy in the process. They fall in love with the journey, not just the reward. They're not trying to impress anyone today. They're working to impact generations tomorrow. They sacrifice momentary pleasure for meaningful purpose, scrolling less and building more, complaining less and creating more. Their vision is so clear and their belief so strong that even when it's tough, they keep going. The 99% often abandon the path when results take longer than expected, but the 1% push through. Knowing the fruits of patience and perseverance taste sweeter than anything instant ever could. The difference between the majority and the few who succeed lies not in talent or resources, but in the ability to stay silent and work diligently. While most people are busy seeking attention, announcing every minor achievement, or constantly comparing their journey to others, the 1% choose a different path. They choose discipline. They understand that results come from repetition, sacrifice, and the ability to say no to distractions. They focus on the inner work, habits, mindset, energy, and routine that lays the foundation for long-term success. These individuals know that loud voices rarely build legacies, but consistent hands do. Their mornings are spent in preparation, their evenings in reflection, and their days in pursuit of something greater than applause. They don't need to be seen because they know where they're going. In a world that celebrates noise, they become powerful through silence. Their results may take time to manifest, but when they do, they speak louder than any words ever could. Key point 2. Embracing long-term vision over instant gratification. We live in a culture that glorifies speed. Fast success, fast money, fast fame. But speed rarely builds anything sustainable. The 1% operate with a different mindset. They plant seeds knowing the harvest comes with patience. They are not looking for overnight results because they know anything meaningful takes time, effort, and perseverance. The 99% give up too soon. They expect progress in days and results in weeks. When it doesn't come, they abandon the path. But the few who truly rise understand that mastery, greatness, and legacy are earned over years of work. They focus on building character, refining their skills, and learning through failures. Their goals aren't based on temporary rewards, but on the kind of life they want to live 5, 10, or even 20 years from now. That's why they keep moving when no one is watching. That's why they stay committed when progress feels invisible. Because their vision is so strong, so clear, it pushes them beyond temporary discomfort into lifelong excellence. Key point 30. Breaking free from the herd mentality. Most people follow the crowd because it feels safe. They do what others do, think what others think, and live how others live, even if it leaves them unfulfilled. But the 1% understand that true growth begins the moment you stop walking the same path as everyone else. They don't fear standing alone. They're not afraid of being misunderstood or criticized, because they know most people aren't even clear on their own path. The few who break free from the herd begin to see opportunities others are blind to. They question norms, challenge limitations, and make decisions based on purpose, not popularity. This independence gives them power. The power to shape their own reality, instead of living someone else's idea of success. They aren't limited by trends or opinions. They are guided by principle, vision, and self-awareness. When the world zigs, they zag. And while the herd may laugh or judge in the beginning, eventually they're the ones looking up, wondering how that one person did what none of them dared to try. The loudest people in the room are often the ones doing the least. They talk, they boast, they chase attention, but very few are truly building something meaningful behind the scenes. The 1% understand that power lies in silence and that focus is their greatest asset. They don't need to prove anything because they're busy improving themselves. Their mornings begin with intention, not distraction. While the rest of the world gets caught up in noise, they dive into work, refine their craft, strengthen their mindset, and commit to progress. They are consistent when no one is watching, motivated even when there is no applause, and relentless regardless of the setbacks. Their silence is not weakness, it's preparation. Every quiet effort they make adds up to results that eventually cannot be ignored. The majority chase recognition, but the elite chase excellence. And that quiet discipline is what separates those who talk from those who transform. Key point 2. Embracing long-term vision over instant gratification. Success isn't about how fast you get there. It's about how deeply you build your foundation along the way. Most people want fast success because they're focused on short-term pleasure. But the 1% think years ahead. They delay the urge for instant results and invest in growth that lasts. This mindset gives them patience during the struggle and clarity when the journey feels uncertain. They understand that a powerful tree doesn't grow overnight. It develops roots first. They're willing to put in the work when there's no reward, because they trust the process. They read, they train, they fail and try again, all while the world is distracted by trends and quick wins. The 99% lose motivation when the outcome isn't immediate. The 1% stay loyal to their vision, knowing that the fruit of hard work is far richer when earned through time, persistence, and faith. They don't look for shortcuts. They build something that lasts beyond them. Key point 30. Breaking free from the herd mentality. The majority of people find comfort in doing what everyone else is doing. They follow routines laid out by others, led by societal expectations, and fear standing out. But the 1% know that following the crowd leads to mediocrity. They are willing to break patterns, challenge assumptions, and walk alone if necessary. They ask hard questions. Is this the life I want? Am I living for myself or for approval? They resist the pressure to conform, not because they want to rebel, but because they are committed to living authentically. This independence gives them freedom. Freedom to build, to fail, to rise, and to live on their own terms. It's not easy to walk against the grain, but those who do find themselves living lives of depth, fulfillment, and impact. The herd may laugh at first, but in the end, They admire the courage it took to leave the crowd and walk a higher path. Key point 40: turning pain into power. Most people let pain stop them. They use failure, rejection, and hardship as reasons to quit. But the 1% use pain as fuel. They understand that life's toughest moments can either break you or build you, and they choose to be built. Every setback becomes a setup. Every disappointment teaches them something valuable. While others complain, they adapt. While others retreat, they reflect and push forward. The elite don't run from struggle. They run into it, knowing that diamonds are formed under pressure. They embrace the discomfort that comes with growth and allow pain to sharpen their focus and deepen their drive. Instead of asking, "Why me?" they ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" This shift in mindset gives them unstoppable resilience. Pain becomes their greatest teacher, forging strength that comfort never could. And while the world avoids difficulty, they rise from it, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. True discipline begins when no one is watching. The 1% understand this deeply and live by it. They don't seek external motivation to push through difficult days. They generate it from within. While most people speak about their ambitions, hoping the world notices their dreams, the disciplined few keep quiet and let their actions build the narrative. Their silence isn't empty, it's strategic. They know that consistent, focused work is louder than any words could ever be. These individuals show up every day, on the good days, the hard days, and especially the days they feel like giving up. They work with intensity and clarity, not because it's glamorous, but because they are committed. They understand that greatness is hidden in ordinary daily effort. They sacrifice comfort, delay pleasure, and remain loyal to their process. While others chase recognition, they build results in silence, and those results eventually make the loudest noise. Key point 2. Embracing long-term vision over instant gratification. Long-term vision separates leaders from followers. In a world addicted to speed and immediacy, the few who rise above are those who are patient enough to delay gratification. They don't fall for fast money, viral fame, or overnight transformation. They focus on building strong foundations, mentally, emotionally, financially, and physically, because they know that what is rushed often falls apart. The 1% think in decades, not days. They make sacrifices now to enjoy freedom later. They say no to temptations that promise short-lived pleasure and instead choose growth that multiplies over time. This long-term perspective gives them stability while others burn out. They don't panic during slow seasons or setbacks, because they know success is not linear, it's layered. Every small step, every long night, every disciplined act adds up. Their commitment is not based on how they feel, but on the vision they've anchored themselves to. That vision gives them a quiet confidence that the crowd can't shake. Key point 30. Breaking free from the herd mentality. The masses move in unison, often blindly. They do what's popular, not what's purposeful. They fear standing alone more than living unfulfilled. But the 1% make a conscious decision to detach from the herd. They are not driven by public opinion, but by personal clarity. They choose truth over trends, direction over distraction, and self-awareness over conformity. While the majority seek safety in numbers, the elite find strength in solitude. They walk paths others avoid because they are led by conviction, not convenience. This doesn't mean they reject others. It means they refuse to compromise their values just to fit in. They think critically, act deliberately, and live intentionally. The herd may mock them, doubt them, or ignore them, but in time those same people will wonder how they got so far ahead. The 1% don't chase validation. They create transformation, and they do it by walking their own path. Key point 40. Turning pain into power. Pain is the currency of growth, but only a few are willing to pay the price. Most people avoid discomfort, seek easy exits, or crumble under pressure. But the 1% have learned how to take pain and mold it into purpose. They've been rejected, betrayed, underestimated, and overlooked, but they never let those wounds define them. Instead, they used them as tools. Every hardship became a lesson. Every fall became fuel. They didn't just survive pain. They used it to sharpen their edge. They saw pain as a teacher that shaped their resilience, carved their character, and deepened their hunger. They know that nothing valuable comes without struggle. Instead of asking, "Why me?" they ask, "What can I build from this?" And in doing so, they turn their scars into symbols of strength. The world sees their success, but rarely the storms they walked through. That's what makes them unstoppable, their ability to suffer forward. Key point 5. Ruthless elimination of distractions. Distractions are the silent killers of dreams. They don't always come as obvious temptations. They come dressed as urgency, entertainment, or false productivity. The 99% live in a constant state of interruption, scrolling through moments instead of building them. The 1% are ruthless about their focus. They cut out what doesn't serve their mission without guilt. They design their environments, routines, and digital spaces to support their goals. They understand that every yes to distraction is a no to discipline. So they prioritize deep work, protect their energy, and schedule solitude. They don't rely on motivation. They build systems that carry them through low moments. This laser, Like focus gives them an unfair advantage in a noisy world. They move with clarity while others drift aimlessly, and over time that discipline compounds into extraordinary results. Results that the distracted never reach. Key point 6. Creating identity through habits. The 1% don't just set goals. They build identities. They understand that the habits they commit to daily shape who they become. Most people chase outcomes without becoming the kind of person who can sustain them. But the elite work from the inside out. They focus on showing up as the version of themselves that already owns the result they want. If they want to be healthy, they adopt the habits of a healthy person. If they want to be successful, they build the mindset, discipline, and habits of someone who has already achieved it. Their daily routine is not random. It's intentional. Every habit is a vote for the identity they are stepping into. Over time, those habits hardwire excellence into their character. They don't rely on luck. They rely on the consistency of their decisions. And by shaping who they are, they naturally create the life most people only wish for. The 1% live by a principle most people overlook: move in silence and let your results make the noise. While the world shouts its intentions, they operate quietly, building a life that speaks for itself. They are not interested in proving their worth through words. They prove it through consistency, effort, and action. Each day, they wake up and commit to routines that sharpen their minds, condition their bodies, and strengthen their resolve. Their discipline is not driven by mood or motivation. It's rooted in identity. They've decided that success is not an event but a process. They don't need applause or validation. Their purpose is their compass. In this silent grind, their character is forged, and in time, the world recognizes what was once hidden. While most are busy talking about what they will do, the disciplined few have already done it. Key point. Embracing long-term vision over instant gratification. The 1% understand that quick success is often fragile, while long-term success is unshakable. In a world consumed by immediacy, they stand apart by choosing patience. They know that anything worth building, whether it's wealth, legacy, health, or mastery, requires time, effort, and unwavering commitment. They aren't discouraged by slow progress because they recognize that each small step forward brings them closer to their vision. They set goals not for days but for decades. They're willing to endure temporary discomfort in exchange for lasting excellence. While others chase what feels good now, they pursue what's right for their future. They trust the process, knowing that success built slowly and intentionally is more powerful than anything achieved in haste. That long-term mindset gives them a mental edge and emotional resilience most never develop. Key point 30. Breaking free from the herd mentality. Most people do what others do simply because it's familiar. They follow trends, mimic behaviors, and live according to expectations that aren't even their own. But the 1% choose authenticity over acceptance. They dare to think differently, question everything, and walk alone if that's what it takes to live in truth. They aren't afraid to be misunderstood or judged. In fact, they expect it. They know that the path to excellence is rarely crowded because most people would rather blend in than stand tall. This independence empowers them to create rather than copy, to lead rather than follow. And while the herd is busy competing with each other, the 1% are focused on becoming the best version of themselves. They know that the price of originality is rejection, but the reward is freedom, purpose, and a life lived on their own terms. Key point 40. Turning pain into power. Pain is not something they fear, it's something they harness. The 1% see adversity as an opportunity, not a curse. They've been through setbacks, betrayal, loss, and failure, but instead of folding, they rise. They allow pain to refine their vision and deepen their hunger. When others ask, "Why is this happening to me?" the elite ask, "What is this building in me?" They channel frustration into fuel and hardship into higher levels of strength. They don't just survive pain, they evolve through it. Every scar is a reminder of what they overcame and a symbol of what they're capable of. This mindset gives them an inner toughness that no external challenge can break. They don't run from struggle. They run through it, emerging stronger every single time. Key point 5. Ruthless elimination of distractions. In today's world, distraction is the enemy of greatness. The The 99% allow their focus to be stolen by noise, notifications, gossip, social media, and unproductive habits. But the 1% protect their time like a sacred resource. They design their days with precision, cutting out anything that doesn't align with their mission. They know that energy is limited, and so they use it wisely. They're not reactive, they're intentional. Instead of living on autopilot, they live with awareness. They unplug to recharge. They schedule solitude for deep thinking. They say no to anything that doesn't elevate their vision. This ruthless discipline creates space for clarity, creativity, and execution. While the world is busy consuming, they are creating, and that difference in focus is what builds momentum, mastery, and massive results. Key point 60. Creating identity through habits. The 1% don't wait for results to feel successful. They build the identity of someone who already is. They know that every decision, every habit, every repetition is a vote for the kind of person they are becoming. Most people chase goals without changing their mindset or behavior, but the elite reverse engineer success by becoming the type of person who can sustain it. They ask, what would the future version of me do today? And then they act accordingly, whether it's waking up early, eating clean, reading, working out, or executing their craft. They do it not just to check a box, but to reinforce their identity. Over time, those habits become their default settings. They don't rely on willpower. They've built a lifestyle that reflects who they are and where they're going. Key point 70. Extreme ownership of their life. The top 1% never blame, complain, or make excuses. They've realized that every time they shift responsibility to someone else, they give away their power. So instead, they take full ownership of their mindset, their actions, their results, and even their failures. If something goes wrong, they don't point fingers. They ask what they could have done better. This radical accountability makes them unstoppable. It forces them to look inward, to grow, to adapt, and to get better. They don't wait for external conditions to be perfect. They create their own opportunities. They understand that life isn't about what happens to you, but how you respond to it. And by taking ownership of everything in their life, they put themselves in the driver's seat of their destiny. That mindset creates transformation from the inside out, and that's something the 99% never fully realize.